Okay, let's take a look at the wood stove, see where we're at, and the repairs we've made so far.
Hello, and welcome to our channel. We're glad you're here.
Okay, if you caught the last video where we talked about the repairs that needed made, we had a crack here. This is the back of the furnace. This raised section here is actually the back of the oven on the inside. So we filled this with some of that 2300 degree epoxy, and then Paula has painted everything that's not directly exposed to fire with the high heat black paint. So this is the outside, this is inside the flue section, so that's why it's not painted. On the bottom of the oven, we had the broken ear here and the missing ear here. I was able to weld a washer to replace this broken piece, and I was able to weld this ear back on using that muggy weld cast iron rod. It worked pretty good on stuff like this, but you'll see it didn't work for the worst part of it. The top of the oven, we were also able to weld the two ears back on that were broken there. The oven door, I was able to weld the spring mount on the one side, and also the broken hinge pin on the other side. Came out pretty nice. We do have a little coloration there because the enamel was chipped off. So we just put a little bit of the epoxy on over top of the weld to fill a couple little holes, and just put some of the black paint on it. Not much better we can do on that.
It is what it is.
The top piece, this was the piece that was broken off. I was able to weld that on pretty well, but back in this corner it was hard to get the TIG welder in there, so we filled it again with the epoxy just for safety's sake. And then the bad piece, of course, was the side of the oven. What we ended up doing was making a brace just out of 1/4 or 1/8 inch by 2 inch bar stock, and cutting it up and welding it together. It has like the rope gasket underneath it to try and hold it together. We'll grind all these bolt pieces off so that they're not sticking out so far. And then this is the actual inside of the oven side. We've covered the actual cracks with the epoxy and then painted it. I tried welding like maybe right in here and right in here, and it just basically burnt holes right in it. It was too brittle and too thin to weld with that rod. But we think this is going to work. If it does shift around, it should stay pretty much intact. There's a couple smaller pieces up in here. This is where that hole was at, where this piece was bowed up and this piece was bowed up. So we've actually cut or broken those pieces so that they lay flat to try and get as flat a surface as possible. So hopefully this will work. We're going to start assembling here pretty soon. We'll do a video on that as well. We're going to use the like the caulking that's designed for stoves to go around all the joints, and then we're going to put more of that rope gasket around the top. So seems pretty good. I'm relatively impressed with the muggy weld rod. It seemed to do a pretty decent job. It was just a little too big, I think, for what I was trying to do. And of course this material is just so old and so brittle that it did the best it could, but I'm hoping that this bolted together monstrosity will work. Yeah, the guys at work called this my Franken stove because of putting this together the way I did. But hopefully it'll work. We'll film a video when we do the assembly, and we'll go from there. Thanks for watching. Any questions or comments, of course, are always welcome. Thumbs up would be appreciated, and please subscribe. Have a good evening.